podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
A long time ago, well, actually just yesterday, in a stadium not so far away, a footballing rebellion shook the Premier League galaxy. It was May the 4th, Star Wars Day, and while fans across the world were celebrating Jedi, Sith and everything in between, Nottingham Forest delivered a performance with the Force fully on their side. Against all odds, Forest stood firm, disciplined, fearless and struck down a Chelsea side that looked more empire than ever, powerful on paper, but ultimately outmanoeuvred. Today we're breaking it all down, the tactics, the standout performances and why this result means a whole lot more than just 3 points. So grab your lightsaber or your scarf and settle in. Welcome to the Tricky Talks podcast. So I hope you guys learned that, like that intro. I spent a whole lunch hour typing that out today, so I thought with it being Star Wars Day yesterday and the victory and all, I thought I'd write something appropriate for that intro. But anyway, welcome Chelsea, how are you? We said last week that Chelsea were going to get a battering, not you personally, but how are you feeling after yesterday?
I love the fact that Chelsea has got a battering. I love that. How mental was that game? I feel like I just went to bed, had this most incredible dream and woke up. And it was actually real. You cannot... Yeah, I can't wait to get into this pod.
Yeah, it should be a good one. At this point, I do want to say hello to Michael Lane, who I met at Chelsea yesterday. He approached me in the concourse and said how much he enjoys the pod and how much he likes watching and listening. So thank you, Michael, for your support. It is very much appreciated on behalf of all of us. He did, Kate, though, expect after that team announcement that you were going to go on a bit of a rant this episode. So I'm not sure that's going to be the case now, is it?
Do you know, when it dropped, I think we were just walking in when it dropped, and people with me that were with me in Midtjylland, and that's all they were saying. They were just like, Kate, just think of Midtjylland. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And I think by the time I saw you, Simon, that's what I was saying. I'm just going to think of Midtjylland. It'll all be okay. And it was.
And last but not least, Mollo, fresh from your statement going viral over the past week, how are you feeling now you've got everything off your chest?
I'm very happy. Do you know what, though? I feel this is going to sound typically perverse, but I feel less confident now than I did last Thursday because we're just in such a rich vein of form that it's got to stop sometime. And I know we shouldn't think like that. And I just, when that team was announced yesterday, I don't get into the ground an hour or two before kick-off, so I must confess we were still in the pub somewhere in King's Cross area, and everyone was like, well, that's a crazy team. But when I looked at the team, a bit like Kate, I thought there were some players from Midtjylland that did really well. But what stuck out to me was that midfield pairing. I thought nobody is going to walk all over them pair, and nobody's going to see Forest do an Aston Villa, what they did the other day where they just rolled over. Because with Ryan Yates and Dominguez in there, they're going to fight for every single ball, every single inch, and we saw that, didn't we? So I wasn't as worried as some people were. A couple of people I was with, what was the point? That's disgraceful. I'm like, nah. In a way, we'll come to that later. Yeah.
We'll get into all of that, of course. But before we crack on with the Chelsea review, talking of Chelsea, Chelsea's going to share with everybody some of the feedback we got on the back of your statement. Plenty of engagement on social media, and Chelsea's going to share some of the comments that people were saying. Go on, Chelsea, take it away.
Well, after what an incredible just thoughtful, meaningful statement that Mollo read out. We got quite a few, we got a lot of engagement through our social medias. Some bad, obviously, because, the trolls obviously came out in force, the keyboard warriors. But also we had some really nice ones as well, Mollo. Most of them were lovely. So I'm just going to read a few of them out. Paul Clark, he said, enjoy every minute. A fantastic statement. I think one of my personal favourites was from Darren Jones. Sing loud and proud, snowflake-free zone. Could be worse. It could be a Leicester podcast. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So these were all from our Facebook. So I'm just going to have a little look as well on our Instagram. Sorry. Oh, God, if it loads. Here we go. Mr. Dorr put many of laughing faces on there, Mollo. And also we had Max Scott as well. He said, bloody well said, sir. And he saluted you as well, Mollo. So, yeah, we got
Thank you.
lots of engagement from that, Mollo. So, yeah, a bloody good statement and bloody well read. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I've got no confidence that. It's dripped away over the last few days. By the time I get to kick off on Thursday, I'm like, oh, please, 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 let us hang on.
I think the general feeling on Facebook and Instagram, Chelsea, was fairly positive, wasn't it? It was a lot of support for Mollo, and quite rightly so. There was more support on X, but if there was any trolling or anything, it was on X, and I think that just typifies the state of that particular social media app nowadays,
doesn't it?
doesn't
Go to a game, why don't you just come and say it to my face? I don't get it.
Yeah.
All this keyboard warrior stuff. I'm big enough and ugly enough to take criticism.
Yeah, and also as well, there is no football fan out there that can tell me that if they had just won a game in the first leg of the semi-final of the Europa, that they would not be doing the exact same thing as what we were.
Can I just add something to that? Because a lot of the criticism and stuff about it, Forest fans celebrated, obviously some of it was aimed at me and other people. Oh, it's only half time, it's only half time. Were you in the concourse at Chelsea at half time? It's like full-on party, and it was only half time.
You know what? And that kind of got me thinking during the game as they were singing the Istanbul song and Tell Me Man, we're going to Turkey twice. And that's exactly the same. What difference singing it now than dancing it outside the City Ground after the first leg? There is no difference. So everybody's at it, which is fair enough.
We were in that zone and somebody stuck a camera in our faces and we just carried on in the same zone, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to defend myself. I've got to be honest. I just don't care. Yeah. I go to football with my mates. There's lots of people I like at football, but if people don't like it, that's up to them. That's fine.
Yeah.
If they want to tell me to my face ever, that's absolutely fine, as long as it's me.
Quite right. Right, on to Chelsea then. Not you, Chelsea. The other Chelsea. But I do want to mention Jesse Derry first of all. We all send our best wishes to him because that was a horrible collision with Zach Abbott. I don't know about you guys, Kay at Mollo, but it was I could hear it from where I was. It was a sickening clash of heads and dreadful for both players. And we wish them both well, of course. I understand Jesse Derry is now out of hospital and he's been on social media saying he's fine. So that's great to see him. And we'll look forward to seeing him play again for Chelsea. And Zach Abbott obviously had to go off as well, presumably under the concussion protocols also, so we wish him well and hopefully he's around for Thursday too, although I don't know what the rules are for concussion these days, so we'll have to wait for that one to see. But I do want to talk about the team selections, and we had lots of conversations when Villa announced their lineup against Spurs, pretty much making 8, 9 changes, I think it was, to the first 11, and everybody was up in arms. Yet Pereira went and did exactly the same, more or less. He matched Villa. What were your thoughts, guys, on seeing that lineup? We'll start with you, Chelsea, actually, this time. No, was Pereira right to make as many changes as he did? Well, he was, because they won, but prior to the game, what were your thoughts?
When I first saw the lineups, I'm not going to lie, I thought, oh, God, what's he doing? I thought, oh no, hang on a minute. And I did think that he was prioritising the Europa over the league. And I'm not saying that, it's a bad thing in any way, but ultimately our priority is staying in the Premier League. I just felt like, because it was 8 changes overall, and I thought, oh, that's a bit too many for my liking. I thought, come on, we need, 1 point, at least 1 point on that table. And when you look, and then I thought, right, let me just go to the bench. And I thought, okay, right, bench looks stronger than, our team on the pitch. And I thought, right, okay. But in Pereira we trust, because they came out and just performed. And I did wonder whether he was also kind of matching Villa in a way for that psychological edge as well. As if, okay, you make 7 changes, we'll make 8. And you know what? We'll make 8 changes and then we'll trump Chelsea 3-0 and make 8 changes. And whereas, you made 7 and Spurs beat you to, I wonder whether he was kind of playing that game. But tell you what, he knows his stuff and he's done his research, Pereira, and it's certainly paid off. So, yeah. First of all, not very happy, but very well executed.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. I mean, Kate, we know Pereira likes to rotate because he's done it in between Europa League games and league games since he's been appointed, but he's never done it to that extent before. Do you think this was the smartest lineup decision of the season, given the fact that he made so many changes and the result paid off? Or are you still livid that the fact that he even dared to do it?
I mean, there are certain players in that lineup, whether you want to call them second string or not, that you're always happy to see on the team sheet, and certainly happy to see in the starting 11. So the first thing is let's not overreact. Loved to see Taiwo's name on that team sheet, and very fitting at Chelsea to have him there. Yates, again, we've discussed it several times on this podcast. We're never sad to see that name. We always know that there's something good coming your way potentially when Yates starts. And the one thing that I think I said to you when I saw you, Simon, was you knew that they were going to play. They weren't going to do what Villa did, where at times when you were watching that Villa game, it did look like they were throwing the game. The stats were ridiculous. They looked so disinterested, as did Unai Emery himself, let's be honest. And at no point did I think that was going to be the case. So that's the first thing I want to say. So not quite the rant maybe that was expected, but that is sort of the conclusion that I'd come to. And in terms of Pereira, he must be a gambler. Surely that man owns a few racehorses, has got some Victor Chandler accounts going on, allegedly. No, I don't know. But yeah, it feels like he's either a gambler or an absolute genius, isn't he? And at the moment it's coming across like he's an absolute genius. And it was coming across that he's an absolute genius from 90 seconds into that game. When you think about it, there was no time for us to be worried, was there, really? As soon as that whistle went, we were off. And we were rolling, we were playing, we were besting, we were scoring, we were winning, So
we were off like one of those racehorses Pereira owns.
Yeah, exactly. You see? But, I mean, wow. Yeah, just...
Yeah, talking of Pereira, Mollo, do you think Pereira's now got the psychological edge over Unai Emery, bearing in mind the thought process of Emery selecting his reserves and pretty much admitting he chucked the game, or has Unai Emery's decision to do that backfired? What do you think?
I don't think anyone's got an edge. It's a new game. It's 0-0 at the start of the game, albeit it's 1-0, I suppose. I think I've watched most of it back today before I went off to football training. But what I will say is he's got the Midas touch at the moment, because that game could easily have swung the other way. They hit the post at 1-0. We got a penalty that... It's a penalty, I'm not saying it's not, but it was a brain-dead penalty and a soft penalty, because I thought at the time it looked like he was going to score and head it in. Having seen it back today, he probably wouldn't have got to the ball anyway. So it was just an idiot penalty. Obviously, Taylor didn't give it, because he didn't give us hardly anything. And it's just like, he's got the Midas touch at the moment, hasn't he? And long may it continue, because we did come out the blocks flying, and a player I've kind of said for a while, there's a player in there, he just needs to be given a chance. He showed us at Midtjylland. I'm going to say something that will probably come back to haunt me, probably on one of the socials. How dare I say it? But if the home fans would just back Bakwa and get off his back, figuratively speaking, there's a really good player in there, as he proved. And he's proved a couple of times away from home where there's kind of less of that pressure and the groans when he does that first corner. His first corner nearly always goes straight to the first man, doesn't it? And the way he came out and he ripped apart for the first 10 or 15 minutes, arguably the best left back in the league over the last 2 or 3 years. I've always thought he's a superb left back when he was at Brighton, to be fair. And he's won a European Championship, whatever, European Championship. And I just think that game theoretically could have gone the other way, yet it never, ever for 1 minute felt that way. It felt like we were dominating. It felt like they can have the ball, they're not going to do anything with it. Even though in reality, they weren't that far off a couple of times. That said, their third goal never should have been given. I thought so at the time, and watching it back, Tyro was wrestled to the ground outside, halfway in our half, and then 2 passes later, the ball's in the back of the net, isn't it? So it swings both ways. They missed a penalty. It is just, 2 offsides, or 3 offsides, I've forgotten now, it was that much of a game, that were marginal, all of them. I actually didn't celebrate Tyro's second goal, because the angle we were at, it looked so offside to me. I was like, no, it's never going to be given. And when it was given, I was like, well, fair play. So I don't think he's got his number, to go back to your question. I don't think he'd be that naive, but there's a confidence oozing through the squad and the club, and that can very quickly become arrogance if we're not careful. And I don't mean celebrating early and all that sort of thing. I actually mean the arrogance of Chelsea, seeing our team potentially and walking out there thinking they were going to walk it. The only thing they got walked was the ball into the back of their net. So we shall see.
We shall see. I don't think Chelsea's arrogant at all, Chelsea. That's a bit harsh on you, isn't it?
Arrogant,
we're going to have to see how many Chelsea gags we can get into this episode, I think.
Do you think Chelsea... her in the middle, so she's in mid-table?
Yeah. Mollo mentioned backward there, Chelsea, and that led me to think of, well, are the squad better than we thought? And I'm talking about the squad as a whole, as opposed to the first choice 11, because we've all been concerned over the weeks and months when the B team has been playing that they're not up to scratch. But they've now started to justify their selections. We started to see it in Midtjylland. We saw it yesterday. Does it mean the overall squad is actually fairly decent and better than we thought?
Yeah, I definitely think that it seems that way. I mean, even with I call your A team. Under, all the managers prior, to, Pereira, we haven't seen them play to the ability that they're playing now. It seems like, with having his arm around them, that they are all performing better, that they have got more confidence. I think it's, from going through to the A team and then also to the B team. I mean, even you look at Nets, for example, considering, he's gone, to play, quite a big game, to be fair. He seemed very assured. He had a great left foot. He'd done the simple things well. He made the right decisions. And you kind of go, yeah, right. Even Bakwa was doing some fantastic crosses down that side. And it all just seemed to work. And I think that was my worry when I did see the lineup. I just kept thinking, haven't had, much, game time together, and are they going to fit? What about the link-up play? And you never know how they're all going to react and play together. But it just worked. And I think as Forest fans, especially with what's happened this season, we've been I feel like we're almost a bit scared, thinking, what is going to happen? Are we going to go back to how we were? And, are we going to lose our confidence again? And always, is this just a bit of a good run? And then it's just going to go back to what it was? But the reality of it is, at the moment, and touch wood, it's not. And it is all working. And I think we always had great players, but they just didn't have the right arm around them. And now they have. We are getting the best out of them.
So, I don't know if anybody heard, but Pereira, in his interview afterwards, when he was asked the question about making all the changes, said, I changed the team players, but I didn't change the team spirit. And as I heard him say that, I thought that's really interesting, because actually that is exactly what you've done since you came in. You have totally changed the team spirit. And what that performance said to me more than anything was that now every member of the squad feels like a part of that team. We were always talking about the starting 11 and the second string, as we labelled them. And yesterday, we were able to see Vitor Pereira's squad in action, and everybody contributing and everybody being important and everybody having the confidence to do that and being made to feel like they can.
Whoever's started recently, Kate, they've you look at Sunderland away, they've had an incredibly fast start there. They had another fast start against Chelsea. To a certain extent, they did in the second half against Burnley. What's the psychological impact of that, do you think? Because the team have now demonstrated that whoever's on the pitch, they're capable of doing that now. What impact is that having, do you think, on not only the rest of the game, but from a Forest perspective, but demoralising the opposition and the opposition fans and quietening them as well?
I think that's a really fair point. If you were any other team right now, who is one of the teams, I'm not going to say the only team, but one of the teams that you do not want to play. And right now that has to be us. Because as Mollo said, we are in this rich vein of form, and all those things that we were talking about a few weeks ago, not being able to score goals, not having the confidence, not having the form, all of those things we've now got. And I think we even had a conversation about the rub of the green, and not getting decisions, and everything felt like it was against us. And yet yesterday we got a penalty, we got a goal that we thought might be offside that was given. They had a goal ruled out for offside, and it just feels like at the moment that turnaround has come, as we've said before, from within, from the players, from the team, from what they're radiating, from how they're performing, from how that's coming across to us and how that's invigorating us. And now it seems to be spreading out into the wider sort of football community and how they're talking about us and how they're seeing us. And it's an absolute joy. Let's hope we can, keep that going for at least another few games.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Mollo, they started off really well, but given the fact that Chelsea were coming into the game on a bit of a slump, they'd not scored in the Premier League for, I think, 5, maybe 6 consecutive games. They hadn't won for a long time. Did Forest win the game in the first 15 minutes, or did Chelsea effectively lose it, do you think? Not that you're losing it, Chelsea. I'm talking about the football team again.
Right, don't worry.
Absolutely both, because talking to Chelsea fans before the game in the pub, they said they played well in the cup semi and they were hoping that was the beginnings of something, because although they've lost 5 on the trot in the league without scoring, which is incredible, the fact that they beat Leeds in the cup comfortably, really, they thought that might be a bit of a turning point to get them. They were saying we need Champions League, and if we're being honest, we don't like what Villa did, but we kind of need them to win the Europa because that's another place, blah, blah, all that. But they did say, if you score first, we'll be gone. And I didn't get what they meant, but now I do from that first 20 minutes. Because they did improve, and like Kate said there, we did end up getting the rub of the green, but we earned it without a shadow of a doubt. I think I'd just like to address one of your early questions, and I hate to be the old fart to say I told you so, but isn't it amazing that when youngsters come often to another country, a new league, it takes them 6, 7, 8 months to settle in, and they don't always hit the ground running. I've said I worry about Callum Wendo because I don't know if he's got the tools for a Premier League centre-forward. That's something else we might find next season. He scores 50 goals under this manager because everything he touches turns to gold. But I think, I thought James McAtee's been having some really good games lately as well. And this vein of form and this run will end at some point, because it always does. The key is, can it last 4 or 5 more games? Please. It's obviously going to end against Bournemouth if we're still going that far. But up to that point, I mean, wouldn't it be an irony if last game of the season, Villa needed us to beat Bournemouth and we put out the C team and the kids and got spanked 5 or 6-0 because of what they tried to do? We don't need to now because of obviously what occurred. You showed them how it should be done. But I just think the squad, we weakened our squad this year for the first part of the season, not deliberately, but because we had so many new players that took time to settle, as they often will. And fair play, they're starting to settle now. I had a good conversation with someone today saying, as going forward now, we've got 2 right wingers vying for the same spot that are very similar and offer very similar but outstanding abilities. So it is scarily exciting at the same time as needing to feel cautious. And Yeah, sorry, I've completely forgotten the question now, but that's not like me. I'm going back to it.
Yeah, we'll move on. Let's talk about some individual performances then, and we have to start with Taiwo Chelsea. And his movement against the Chelsea centre-backs was absolutely outstanding. Don't know whether it came across on TV as well as it did in the actual stadium. Do you think he's underrated amongst Premier League strikers, given the impact he's having? It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because he's clearly in the pecking order behind Wood and Jesus, but he's having an impact every time he comes on. Do you think he's a little bit underrated? Would he get in other Premier League teams as a starter, for example?
Yeah, he's definitely underrated. I think with Taiwo, I mean, you know, he's done so well for us in the season, and obviously, unfortunately, when he had that god-awful injury, I think that did, obviously, like anyone, would completely set him back. But I do think he is really underrated. And I mean, there's not once have I heard any Forest fan at all ever slag Awoni off. We all love him. We really do. And when he comes on the pitch, he's such a presence. He's such a big, strapping bloke. He just offers so much. He does unnerve defenders because he just charges like this bull and no one's stopping him. And no one threatens to even tackle him or challenge him or go anywhere near him just because of his stature. But he is so underrated. And I think Forest fans, we see him for what he is and we love him. And we know what a spectacular striker he is. But I think in terms of the Premier League, I do feel like he's a bit like, oh yeah, Awoni. You know, like, okay, yeah, he's scored 2, but you know, he's not the go-to. And I think that's really sad that they feel that way.
Well, do you think he's playing himself into a future with Forest, Chelsea? Because, like you said, I can't remember what his contract situation is like at the minute. But
no, I don't know.
Do you think he's now making a case for him to remain part of the team going into next season?
I would love him to remain in the team. I would, and if he can come on as well like that, even if he doesn't start, and we bring him on after like 65, 70 minutes, and you bring him on as this threatening presence. Oh God, you know, with other teams, oh Wayne, he's coming on. Oh, quick! You know, we're like all their defences unnerve him again because you know that he's coming on again, bringing in that threatening presence in the second half when the other team they're all tired, and then you get Awoni coming on, charging through again. Yeah, I would love to see him with a future at Forest, and I think he is a very good asset to our team, and I think he will be, and I would love to see him stay at Forest. I'm a bit like you, Sam. I don't know what his contract is at the moment. I'm not 100% sure what it looks like, but yeah, I think he is underrated, and yeah, I think he'd be great to remain in the Forest team.
It was nice to see him play full 90 minutes as well, of course. Another asset to the team, Kate, and we saw him for pretty much the first proper time yesterday, was Luca Netz. I thought he had a really, really good game and playing in that fullback role, and he almost had Cole Palmer in his pocket, didn't he? He knew exactly how to play Cole Palmer because he didn't give him too much in the way of opportunities. But I thought he was outstanding. What were your first impressions? I know he played in one of the European games. Which game did he play in? Actually, I can't remember now.
They won against Leeds.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and he did okay in that game. But that was our first proper look over 90 minutes. What were your impressions, Kate?
Exciting is the first word that came to mind. He just seemed to be bossing it, didn't he? You know, he was quick, he was accurate. Like you say, he was up against Cole Palmer, and you know, regardless of the form that they are or aren't in, you know, that is a formidable player to be making. Not his debut, but one of your early appearances, and that being your job. And to do it to that level is nothing but impressive. So, I don't know about where you guys were sitting, but where we were sitting, a lot of people were talking about him, you know, because I think it was really, really pleasant surprise to see how well he was doing. And he didn't look new, did he? He didn't look like the new kid. He looked like he was exactly where he was supposed to be, and that he was very up for showing us what he's got to offer. And you felt initially excited and then just kind of comfortable. You know, any worries or doubts that you had about him being there and what that would look like was so quickly put at ease because of his performance that that, yeah. And again, another great member to have in our squad. You know, we've spoken about how worried we've been about what if the defence get injured? What if they're not there? What if they can't do it? Next man up. And
it's potentially one to cross off the shopping list for the summer, isn't it? Now they're getting to see what a player like Lukanets can do. And he was so good, I thought, that he actually gave Cole Palmer a new name. I don't know whether you guys realised the new name that I'm talking about, but the Forest fans said Cole Palmer was now a shit Morgan Gibbs-White. So, according to them. Pardon?
You just said Carlton Palmer.
So I meant Cole Palmer, sorry.
I think they're better off with Carlton Palmer this week, to be fair.
I did actually see that. I can't remember what podcast it was. I'm trying to see if I could find it. I can't find. Oh yeah, I did. I heard someone sound a pod. Yeah, that obviously Thomas Tuchel was there, and they were saying if he was looking at Cole Palmer and Gibbs White done more sitting on the bench that Cole Palmer did in the whole game. And it was like, so true.
Yeah, I think Cole Palmer's just got one move. He's playing on that right-hand side. He's only got a left foot. He can't kick it with his right. Every single time he got the ball, he was cutting in on his left. Very much reminiscent of what Omari Hutchinson does for Forest. He's got a habit of doing that as well. And I was saying to Danny, look, just show Cole Palmer down the wing because he's looking to cross it, cut back on his left all the time. And he didn't really have too many opportunities. Obviously, the penalty he did, which was not a direct result of making the opportunity himself. But I thought he was pretty poor. And Morgan Gibbs-White is actually outshining him by far at the minute. And I didn't realise Tuchel was there, Mollo, watching the game. But even in the 20-minute cameo that Gibbs-White had, and of course we wish him well because it was a nasty injury. I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures, but it was an awful. Yeah, Danny said to me, "What's that white on the picture? Is it his skull?" And I said, "I don't actually know, Danny. I'm not a doctor, but I did wonder if it was." Even his 20-minute cameo where he played great and crossed for Awoni's third goal. He did more in that period than Cole Palmer did the whole game. You'd like to think if Tuchel was there, seeing it with his eyes, he's going to make the right call for Gibbs-White, surely, to be in that England squad. Surely.
Probably not, because he's German, but we'll see. He's not bothered. All I'll say is Carlton Palmer. Now you got me at it. Cole Palmer is a class player who's had a difficult season. He's been in and out of the team with injuries. They've had the whole manager situation. He will come again. It's just that, do you want to take a player who's been struggling with injury and who's out of form to the World Cup? And for me, absolutely not. There's 3 or 4 ahead of him for that position, in my opinion. One of whom we know full well at the moment is called Morgan Gibbs-White. You talk about form and the whole Taiwo conversation, and I'm doing it again and going back. If I just looked up his stats, he's got 4 goals in 14 games this season, 2 of which were starts, 2 games of starts, and he's now got 23 in 100 games for Forest. My feeling is, like you guys, he should be getting more game time anyway. I'm not necessarily saying he should be starting every game, because I don't know. The medical team will know better than me. We don't know if he's quite got the makeup for that anymore. But for me, he should be getting more of these 20, 30-minute cameos, starting games when we need to rest others, because he clearly could do it. But if we are going to sell him, then let's not just run down his contract. If we're going to sell him, we paid about 15 million, I think, for him. And that might have been euros. I'm not sure off the top of my head. He scored 23 goals and 100 appearances. That's a 30, 40 million pound player because he's still at his peak. So it's insane that, we've got, from not being able to score goals, we now can't stop scoring it. And please, may it continue. But yeah, there's no contest between Cole Palmer and Morgan Gibbs-White at the moment. And all joking aside, Thomas Tuchel cannot fail to see that.
I'm glad you said Cole Palmer correctly this time, Molly. Yeah. But another player I want to talk about. Good. Yeah, he was. Played for Forest as well, didn't he?
Carlton Palmer? No.
Yeah, I think he did.
Sorry, Carlton Palmer, yeah.
Yeah, not Cole Palmer.
Sorry, yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Let's carry on. I want to talk about Morato again, our old favourite Mollo, because all of a sudden he's another one that, that's multiple performances in a row where he's been pretty solid. And we'd all talked about Jair Cunha perhaps superseding him in the pecking order, and that might well still be the case, but he's now demonstrated he's potentially another one they can rely on.
Solid. He's doing, we've been saying, haven't we, And lots of people have been saying it, the sensible football folk haven't written young players off saying, I don't want to see him in a team and all. That phrase you hear from idiots who should never wear the shirt again. We've said all along, hasn't he, when he does the simple things, he's a good, solid, old-school centre-back. It's when he's not concentrating or he tries to play a bit too much football, he can get caught out, and he's been outstanding. Clearance headers are right out of the top drawer. If that was John Terry, I'm not saying he's John Terry, obviously, but if those headed clearances at set pieces with John Terry, he did it at Sunderland as well, didn't he? People would go, what a guy in the box he is. So massive credit to him because he's come in for a lot of pelters. And dare I say it, this is too confident, we've suddenly got a lot of players have hit their straps and top form at just the right time. Better to finish well than start well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange. Chelsea and I and Kev were talking off air before you guys joined about how strange it was that last season Forest played well up and towards the end and then tailed off, and now it's almost like the reverse of that, isn't it? Like playing not so great this season, but we're hitting a rich vein of form at the end. And
what I'm hoping is teams like Villa are doing what we did last season and dropping off, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right though. For whatever reason, some of those players have been out or whatever and played slightly less football, but some of the players that are playing really well have played nearly all the minutes as well, haven't they? In a sense, the likes of Anderson and obviously Nico, Milenkovic is outstanding. It just long may it continue. It's a nice time to be a Forest fan.
Yeah, I want to talk about the penalty swing moments, Chelsea, because Forest get the benefit of a VAR at one end and Jesus tucks it away, and then just before half-time it could have been a massive psychological either blow for Forest or a boost for Chelsea if Cole Palmer had put that penalty in. Was that the important moment of the game for you in terms of why Forest got the win, that penalty missed by Cole Palmer, given the psychological boost it gave Forest just going into half-time? And what a save from Sells, by the way.
I mean, like we were saying, Simon, it was just definitely my hay fever playing up when Sells made that save. I didn't have a tear come into my eye at all. But what a save that it was. Sells went the right way, strong right hand. And what I loved as well with Sells, like even after the save, he got up straight away. You could just... He's just a fantastic keeper. And I've always said, like even in last season, as valuable as Wood was with scoring goals, Sells was at saving as well. Like to me, they were equal in last season, and that is how important Sells is to the team. But yeah, in terms of confidence, I mean, my favourite bit out of that is when Dominguez ran up to him and was just grabbing him by the scruff of his shirt. I'm not going to lie, it looked like he was going to absolutely punch him one. He looked like he was so... And he was just grabbing him, and you could tell everyone, like Yatesy then came, they just all swarmed around him, and we all knew what it meant for them as well as it did for us. And what a save that it was. And Sells is fantastic, and we all knew what it meant, and thank God he did save it. And like you said, it just ended up slingshotting our confidence into the rest of the game, and thank God that it did.
Yeah, and the game was wrapped up, Kate, by Awoniyi's third goal. Molo's already intimated he thought it was offside and didn't celebrate. We did celebrate. We stood in the corner. We had a pretty good view of the cross from Gibbs White, and I didn't think for one moment it was offside at the time. However, because there was a delay for a VAR check, I went on to X, and Paul Taylor of The Athletic was convinced he was going to be given offside, and perhaps he as a person was, but the fact that Gibbs White put that inch perfect cross in for Awoniyi to finish the game off was just perfect way to end, really, wasn't it?
It was. And, we were all there ready for the hat trick, weren't we? And yet equally when it looked like he might take the penalty, I was happy to see Jesus step up in the end. But I think we would have loved a hat trick. We will take the brace. And you know what? I wasn't worried that it was going to be offside either, because what that penalty save did for me, and it was a save, he saved that penalty. It wasn't a miss, it was a save. It just made me feel like in that game and in that moment, we were absolutely unstoppable. And after that, I just thought, we're going to win this game. We are going to win this game. And then second half, again, I was confident that we would score again. And when they scored their disallowed goal, I wasn't panicked. I was a bit disappointed for Sells because I know a goalkeeper always wants a clean sheet and I felt like he deserved it. But I didn't think, oh my goodness, this is all going to turn on its head and we're going to lose it now, because they were giving me the confidence that they'd absolutely got this. And yeah, I mean the goal that they did score in the end, the consolation goal in stoppage time, a wonder goal, overhead kick and all that. But again, like previously, even with minutes to go, you'd still be there thinking, gosh, it only takes 17 seconds to score a goal. They could level this up, but those thoughts, they just weren't there. It was absolutely glorious. And yeah, the save was celebrated like a goal. And it's weird trying to articulate it as a Forest fan, because we've had a season so full of anxiety and doubt and wanting to come into this purple patch now. You just have to pinch yourself, don't you, all the time? Like, is this really happening? There was this one guy that was sat near us that when the first goal went in, leapt out of his seat and he went down, like he proper went down and banged his head, and the stewards were around and some other fans were around checking him. And he was like, is this really happening or am I concussed? I was like, I don't think anybody knows.
Sounds like banging heads was a bit of a theme at the
it was a bit of a
yesterday.
recent one, wasn't it? Or let's up, but
Yeah, I'm going to ask you the big question now, Mollo, in that, and you know what's coming, don't you? Does that win now secure our safety? I know it's not mathematically impossible. It's not mathematically certain yet, and I have said for a couple of weeks now, game week 36 is going to be the deciding week, and it very well could be now. But do you think on 42 points, with the form that we're showing, we're safe? Yeah,
on both fronts, 42 points has only ever once sent a team down. But for that to happen, there has to be a bizarre run of results and a turnaround from various teams, and we've got the goal. The turnaround would mean we'd have to be taking hammerings, which we don't look like taking at the moment because of the goal difference. Somebody that I go with made the point, this has got, albeit a little bit earlier, but it's got that T1 build-up to the cup final finish. I know it's a build-up to a semi-final, to the season where we just were banging in goals of fun, hammering good teams. Weirdly, we beat Chelsea that time, 7-0, didn't we? And we put 4 past Leeds, 5 past Norwich, and I remember every one of those games. Absolutely we're safe. I thought we were safe after Sunderland. I'll make a bold prediction and say we'll look back at the end of the season and say, it turns out 36 points would have been plenty, because I don't see West Ham getting too many points with their run-in. I hope they do beat Arsenal, to be honest, but we'll see, or draw with them to get a point. Not because I just don't think it affects us anymore. And we all want Tottenham to go down, let's be honest, especially after what Villa did for them.
Yeah. Where do you stand, Chelsea? Forest are 6 clear of West Ham with a possible 9 points to play for. So it could be, given the goal difference, if Forest play Newcastle first on Sunday, if they get a win, they'll be 9 clear with a much better goal difference. So that would mathematically all but secure their Premier League safety. However, if West Ham don't beat Arsenal and Arsenal are vying for the title now and the title's in their hands, given the Manchester City score, you'd assume that, all things being equal, Arsenal would beat West Ham, which again, even if Forest don't win against Newcastle, they lose. Worst case scenario, if West Ham also lose, they'll be 6 clear with 2 to play and a better goal difference. So it's looking a bit positive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking more positive, but I am that football fan where unless it is mathematically proven that they are safe, I will not rest. I am that person. I remember when I was younger, now you're going to have to forgive me because my memory is so bad. Wasn't it like to secure playoffs? Wasn't it that I needed to be...
Not the Stoke one. Can we not talk about that?
Yeah.
And it was like certain we were in the playoffs, and then that happened, and that still haunts me.
I take personal responsibility for that result, because it was during COVID, and it was a 7-goal swing was required, wasn't it? And it was 25-1 for that to happen. I said, I might put a tenner on that, just to then it pays for most of my season ticket for next season if it goes wrong in the Championship. And the bookies were closed, and I should have just gone online and done it, shouldn't I? But the bookies were closed, so I thought, I won't bother. I'll pay the tenner to watch the game on that crappy feed that we used to have to watch during COVID. And that's what happened. All my fault.
So I'm going to
It's not
blame.
happening this time, though.
I'm going to blame Mollo for my
tiny little
trauma.
bit of responsibility for that one as well, Mollo, because I know, and this is the thing. I let my kids make a banner. It was COVID. We were homeschooling. I let my kids make a banner that said, "We're supporting Forest in the playoffs." And
Right, so I've got Mollo and
I've
Kate
been
to blame
feeling
for my
guilty for
trauma.
these last
Thank you.
5-6 years, and it was all you and your kids' fault.
it was.
Oh, I've been absolved.
Well, let's look even further ahead up the table, Kate. We're not only 6 points behind Chelsea. Can you believe it? And up until recently, they've been chasing a Champions League spot. So, and I've been looking at the table. Is 13th a realistic possibility now for Forest to finish? Because you've got this. It sounds obscene, doesn't it, to think that way? But it's not unrealistic because they're in 16th now. They've got Palace have admitted they're saving themselves for the Conference League final. You've got Leeds, who are safe and on the beach, and they've got West Ham and Spurs to play. You've got Newcastle, who are, I know they won at the weekend, but they're only 3 points out of Forest, so a win for Forest this weekend and they're level with Newcastle. So is 13th a realistic spot to aim for now?
Simon, I don't know if you heard the story that I just told about the penny and the
One
goal.
game at a time.
First of all, one more point for me. One more point, and then I will rest. Second of all, we've had this conversation over the season, and I've always been adamant that I wouldn't. Right now, 17th and a ticket to Istanbul will do me just fine. I don't need 13th. These last few weeks have been amazing, and I said again, I think I said this before we started recording, I've started doing that thing, and I don't know if this is a me thing or if this is a collective football fan thing, where I've started bargaining with like imaginary forces to get us to Istanbul. So I'm saying right here and right now, if we can get to Istanbul, then I don't need to finish 13th. I do things like, if I'm really well behaved today and I get up and go for a run and I don't have that chocolate bar, can we go to Istanbul? And I was stood there at Chelsea and thinking, so what if he scores the penalty, Cole Palmer scores the penalty, but we do still win? Can I go to Istanbul then? And it's in my head all the time. I'm just bargaining with nobody real, nothing actually happening, but all the time, like trying to make a deal somewhere that gets us on that plane. So I refuse to answer that question, Simon. I will take 17th and a ticket to Istanbul.
Can I just say,
The big man might disagree, because that's 15 million quid's worth of placements you've just chucked away.
I don't care. I want to go to Istanbul.
Yeah, go on, Chelsea.
No, I was just saying, can I just say, these last few pods, Simon has been asking us some really tough questions. Really tough.
Yeah, well, we needed to up the ante, Chelsea, really.
Do you think we're safe, Simon?
Yeah, I think we are now. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, given the rich vein of form we're in, are you telling me Forest can't get one more point over the last 3 games? I think we can somewhere.
I don't count Bournemouth though. Bournemouth's our kryptonite. I'm not even counting that as a game. In my head, we've got 2 games left.
Yeah, and it's much to do with the other teams as well, of course. They need to win all of theirs, both Spurs and West Ham, and it's just not going to happen, I don't think. Right, on to Mono's moment then. And where are you going this week? Because surely there's plenty to choose from.
Very, very left field. Nothing to do with the goals and the celebrations or any of that. And I've watched it back on telly because I thought my eyes deceived me. I did make note of the minute, but I've done loads since then. There was a moment in that game where the linesman gave a throw-in and the ball didn't even reach the line right in front of us. We were more or less in line with the touchline. I think it was a couple of players were scrambling for it. It looked like it would go out, but somehow someone just kept it in by a good 6-8 inches. And the lino, we carried on playing and the lino flagged. I thought, oh, maybe my eyes deceived me. I watched it again on TV today. Like, yeah, how did he give it? It was like that phantom goal all those years ago and things like that. There was nowhere the ball went even on the line, let alone over it. It was so weird. So that was my moment. Just, it might not have been the best moment, but I'm taking it today. I'm saving the good moments for after Thursday, hopefully.
And we're going to have a bonus moment as well. We're going to have a Minds' moment because something happened after the game, Kate, that we need to talk about. What was your moment of the Kate Minds' moment of the game or the day?
Well, for anybody that follows our Instagram, I think you probably heard Minds' moment from yesterday. So I'll talk you through it. So we've come out the away end and we're stood in the bit that's got the hotel and the sports bar and stuff. And I already knew because I'd had a phone call from one of my friends to say that he'd seen Marinakis and got a little high five. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness, could you even believe it? And then the crowd was starting to part before our very eyes in a very biblical fashion as the big man, flanked by all his security guards, starts marching down. And, you know, the rumblings, it's Marinakis, it's Marinakis, it's Marinakis. And I hear it in my ear and that's it. I just charge forward with my camera ready for the selfie. And I mean, I was very respectful when I got there. I stopped myself and I said, excuse me, Mr. Marinakis, would you please take a photograph with me? And he just sort of smiled at me and, he put his arm around me and we posed for a little selfie. And, you know, I think I babbled something at him along the lines of thank you very much for taking a picture with me and thank you so much for all that you've done for our club. You know, not that I was creeping at all. You know, can't you pay for my next year's season ticket and kind of come for a party on your yacht? But no, it was great. And he was lovely. It wasn't just me. Ben got a picture with him. There was some other, I think he even took a picture with maybe a Chelsea fan as well that was hanging around. And I would just say that the man has presence. That's the only way I can describe it. He is just, you know, you're in the presence of somebody very powerful.
You know what the teenagers say these days, don't you? It's like, aura, aura.
Aura!
Aura.
Yes.
That's all I ever hear.
Absolutely.
Aura,
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know about that, Marlo?
Somebody was obviously filming this, and as I ran off, having got my picture, I screeched like, I can't even describe it myself, what that noise was that came out of me, but I was very, very overexcited, and that's gone all over social media, and Simon very kindly shared it, so if you would like to hear me screeching, then please do have a look at our story on Instagram. It's a joy.
Well, it was only one of those 24-hour story reels on Instagram, so it might actually be gone by now. At the time of recording, you'll be pleased to know.
Anyway, change that moment. You just reminded me of something else now. I'd completely forgotten happened.
Go on then, very quick.
We sat a few seats along from Nigel Jempson, and because we'd all been to the pub since I think we met at 11 o'clock in London, quite a few of the lads were well oiled, and they go, "It's Joe," and it's like, "Jemo, Joe," and he loved it, and then it was who put the ball in the Oldham net. It's just daft stuff, but yeah, just
me and Danny went.
That.
Me and Danny went to a pub near Earls Court early. It must have been 11, half 11 by the time we got to London. We had a beer and he spotted a Nando's across the road. So inevitably we went to Nando's for lunch. And while we were in there, we saw a fight outside, which was a bit bizarre. And we didn't. There was a cyclist and a moped rider and a pedestrian collided. And the first we knew about it, right outside the restaurant, was when we saw them having a punch up on the floor. At the same time, a big police van was driving past full of coppers on the way to the ground. So they all stopped further up the road, came running forward to break it all up. But the weird thing was that they finished the fight literally just before the police turned up, and they both got up and fist bumped each other, and one picked up the other's mobile phone and handed it back to him.
Oh my God.
And they were there for the duration then. We didn't see what happened because the police were talking to them both separately and getting witness statements and CCTV from Nando's. And I just thought it was really weird how they had this big fight and then ended up looking like they were best of mates at the end of it. It was weird.
And they sorted it out. They just let them walk away.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm not condoning violence, obviously.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, time's kicking on. Let's do our man of the match votes. Chelsea, we'll start with you.
Taiwo, he scored 2 goals for me. Brilliant.
Yep.
I think he played fantastically, and yeah, I can't I couldn't fault anyone. No one played badly. I want to keep saying that as well. Again, nobody played badly. But yeah, Taiwo only for me.
Yeah, Taiwo gets my vote too. Who gets yours, Kate?
See, now again, I've agonised over this because coming out of the ground, I thought I was going to give it to Luca Netz. And then
you can't give it to Nico. He only played a half.
No, I know. And then when I did a watch back, I thought maybe I should give it to Yates. But I think I'm going to have to go for the hat-trick and give it to Taiwo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Again, honourable mentions all over the pitch, aren't there? And I think, I'm presuming one of our players is injured, and I think Dominguez and Jesus are the only two I can see starting that started the game on Thursday. But it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Taiwo all day long. 2 chances, 2 goals, hold-up play, work rate, won the game for us. Has been out in the cold for a while and performs like that. Brilliant, but fantastic.
yeah, absolutely well deserved, Taiwo. Let's have some more of that, please. So we're coming to the end of the show. We haven't got time for a quiz or an FPL update. We've been so engrossed in the Chelsea victory. We all know how important Thursday's game is. We'll come back to you later in the week with hopefully a trip to Istanbul planned. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel a little bit nervous now. The nerves are kicking in and it's 48 hours away as we start recording. But just to end on a light-hearted moment to calm everybody's nerves, Chelsea is going to read out for us an alternative league table that we spotted on social media. It's doing the rounds. So if you haven't heard this, it's very good. And Chelsea, you care to explain to round off this week's show?
Yes, so they've all been renamed, haven't they, Simon?
They have, yeah.
They've all been renamed. So I'm going to start from the top, but I'm not going to mention who they are and let our listeners figure out themselves and everybody else as well. So, first place. Holy shit. Let's figure out who that one is. Number 2. That wasn't in the script. Number 2. So, and just to let everyone know, my pronunciation is absolutely terrible. Number 3. Menu character syndrome. Kate's giggling. Number 4, slot and tomatoes. Number 5, how are we still fit? Number 6, war fruit. So 7th place, between 2 Bs. 8th place, wish we played Chelsea every week. Number 9, bus stop in Fulham. Figure that one out. You know that one. 10th place, Arsenal fans, never forget our sacrifice. 11th place, also Fulham. 12th, still looking down for a laugh. 13th place, first live golf next us. I thought that was brilliant. That was one of my favourites. That one.
Yeah.
Number 14, Daniel Farke to Michael Jackson. 15th, on our way to Leipzig. 16th, backup team beat the world champs. It's the 7th thing saved our season.
Nice.
One of my favourites. When I read that, it really tickled me.
Compose yourself, Chelsea.
18th, in worse shape than Spirit Airlines. 19th, Coventry. 20th, Ipswich.
Awesome. Great way to end this week's show. Hope everybody enjoys the Thursday night second leg against Aston Villa. We all hope for the right result, of course, and we'll be bringing our thoughts and analysis of that later in the week. In the meantime, thanks everyone again for watching or for listening, and we shall speak to you again real soon.